So, hello, I'm Glowfenix Out and welcome to my review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2022 fantasy, action, bit horror, superhero film. Going to this film, I was excited after all the events of Spider-Man No Way Home and Loki, season 1 at least. The multiverse is in full swing, a concept that's big and very kind of expansive. This film was interesting and exciting. Kind of Doctor Strange is kind of I always kind of, it's one of my favourite characters, and his past film was always kind of a favourite of mine because I think of like maybe kind of the whole idea of like mystic arts, kind of the wacky visuals, the kind of mind-bending mystic arts and that happened in that film, and it kind of opened up this different side of the MCU, and then kind of moving on to kind of the kind of progression, kind of the history that the character does, and kind of Infinity War / kind of Endgame, and then even recent with like kind of how the character kind of and his kind of the choices and the things that happen in No Way Home. This review will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen this film, do not watch this video. Or later on, I will divulge spoilers and I will take away the film's excitement and surprises. This film starts, well, with quite a thrilling chase, which involves, well, newcomer in America Chan says, and, well, that, another Strange, this time with a ponytail, a very nice, sleek back hair, or sort of whitish. I think he's called, like, they call him, like, Defender Strange. It's kind of quite quick and kind of fast-paced opening, shows this film is kind of dealing with kind of the multiverse and the kind of that how there is a threat to the very multiverse that is now the MCU that has been opened up, and kind of how it wants to destroy them. And then kind of in Doctor Strange and kind of talking about that, about him, and kind of maybe I kind of previously touched upon about like a bit of his history about this film, and but kind of the thread for his character for this film, kind of the kind of are you happy, kind of are you kind of looking aside, has all that's gone on in his life, is he happy? And then kind of it is kind of as it looks unfolds, his magical abilities are very extraordinary, and it kind of it's showcased in kind of the kind of next sequence, along with the fight with that gargantuous octopus creature, him kind of casting magical symbols that kind of appear, and kind of with the help from Supreme Sorceress Wong is here to help. It was a cool magical fight sequence, which then leads into kind of their new character, which I already mentioned, being America, this young girl with the power to travel the multiverse. It's a pretty cool power. Throughout this film, we kind of learn her history. Through this film, we see her become who has this ultimate power that's kind of uncontrollable to her, and kind of her over the film kind of being able to control it, and she's kind of the centre of this film with this power. We kind of get to kind of dive more into kind of the multiverse. Very cool sequence when they're kind of are like transported through various multiple dimensions, from one that kind of looks like an old-fashioned 19th comic book to even one that's made out of pain and multiple other ones. And I was like, oh wow, this isn't kind of the first time they've done. They kind of had a sequence a bit like this where they jumped through, but this one was very kind of visually kind of jumping, kind of them kind of falling through all these various dimensions, and kind of I was like, oh wow, that was really cool. This leads into one of the more exciting, like, oh wow, they actually did that. Now before that, I want to touch upon another character that is quite prominent in it, other than Doctor Strange, even though the film is titled Doctor Strange. I want to discuss and talk about Wanda. She's very much kind of the adversary, kind of this very much kind of the adversary of this film, kind of this antagonist, this villain of this film. Even kind of just from her, like the first encounter between her and Strange in that apple orchard, and that sequence, they kind of go on later on, sort of discuss the duality of actions and how one can view them as good and heroic, or be the villain of the story, and how where you're coming from, what's the reason behind it. Yes, you could do terrible murderous things, control a whole town, give a time controlling stone to a victorious, deathly titan kind of even kind of came up a bit kind of in kind of the wedding sequence where like one of the wedding guests, the doctor, asked Strange was it correct to give the time stone because he did decimate half the universe, and that was only the way. Wanda has gone through a journey, on a long one, with many terrible and some good things. As an audience, we kind of have got a better understanding, I think, of her, with kind of seeing her being explored, her character, her feelings, what she's gone through, kind of in WandaVision, kind of going into this, kind of I think kind of made a better understanding of her side. Yes, she will do some terrible actions in this film, but then we kind of have kind of a background to her that she is kind of truly evil in this, and even if to get her goals of her family, kind of taking the life of a young girl. It's why I'm like, yes, she's the villain of this film, but she's on her own journey. Even if now she's now kind of been looking over, kind of being influenced, being corrupted by the dark hold. So yes, she feels quite different. She's changed, but at her core, she is still very powerful. Wanda is powerful. This film shows it from that sequence in Carnage, and kind of later on with that one, kind of later on in that sequence with her kind of firing all the her like magic blast, and kind of her kind of going through all the mirrors, her creepily climbing out of that mirror, kind of showing she's quite a terrifying power of chaos magic. This film fully unleashes her. It's like, oh wow, she's attacking, unleashing it all on Strange and those other sorcerers. She had her moments. I'm not sure if I could say cool, but I could say that she does kick ass, and that's about it. She kind of is like, oh wow, it was able to fully see the full power, and I think she's probably one of, if not the most powerful Avengers. And she was cool, and yes, that was really all my thoughts on Wanda. Now, the multiverse. Well, the film is called In the Multiverse of Madness, so this film does, particularly kind of later on when kind of we met Strange and America, being quite fair, transplanted into a new world. This world was quite different. Many aspects, from the architecture of the building to the way the lights, like how like instead of red for stopping, it was actually red to go. And even certain things like how they had this food called pizza balls, which is sold by this guy called like Peter Papa, played by, well, frequent collaborator of Sam Raimi in Bruce Campbell. Small but fun appearance. And going back to that big stuff in Dun 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 Dun, the Illuminati. A group of powerful multiversal variants that kind of look over protecting it all. And well, the lineup is, hello, first being Patrick Stewart as Professor X. And it's like, oh, cool, hello. And then the next one, I was like, oh wow, they really cast it in Dun Dun Dun. John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic / Reed Richards. I was like, wow, he does look perfectly quite like the role. And I was like, very cool. And then we'll talk about a few others, being Maria Rambeau, who's technically Captain Marvel, and then to even kind of Hayley Atwell as kind of Captain Carter, to kind of even Black Bolt, kind of actually a actual better costume and look for him than the kind of Inhumans TV show from a few years ago. And then even Mordo is there, kind of he's like, hello, slightly kind of different, more friendly relationship between each other. And then this leads into, well, something. I was like, oh wow, what was just about to happen was shocking, was very shocking. Maybe not quite very shocking. We was just seeing this kind of group of characters introduced, and then boom, Wanda appears as the variant of that universe, which could be Magneto's daughter, but it's not confirmed, but I think there could be a possibility. And then, as we're not in the main universe, deaths, head explosions, silly string, and the brutality of that moment. She will not stop to get her goals. And I'm like, cool seeing these characters appear, kind of being kind of seeing Captain Carter in live action, seeing kind of a different variant of Captain Marvel, and I was like, from that vault, and kind of even kind of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Fantastic Mr. Fox? No, Fantastic Mr. Fantastic. It's like kind of that then kind of leads into kind of this kind of very kind of quite terrifying and terrible, kind of tense, scary chase sequence of kind of Wanda tracking down our cast of characters from kind of, which now include Kristen Palmer, or a variant of Kristen Palmer in this universe. And I was like kind of going through all the doors, tearing through to get America, not the country, but the person. This moment, I think, will go down as like, oh wow, that was unexpected. More kind of the outlook, even the characters, the brutality in this sequel as well. That was just like, oh wow, Wanda will do anything to get her goals. And kind of, well, let's move more onto the culmination and my overall thoughts on this film. It had thrills, it was magical, it was quite, well, the culmination of this film. Not my overall thoughts, not quite yet, I'm not quite ready yet, but kind of more the latter end of this film, in kind of we're seeing powerful magical abilities. That fight sequence when they kind of go to that other dimension with the other Strange, kind of the one who's been fully corrupted by the dark hole, kind of they had that magical kind of note battle, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting battle. Them shooting like cues and, you know, musical notes, kind of interesting kind of projections, kind of even that like last confrontation with Wanda. It was cool, from the scary under creatures of kind of seeing the cape of souls of the damned, kind of them battling each other. It was quite spectacular, and I really quite enjoyed it. Now, as I said, we're finally down to my overall thoughts of this film. Onto my overall thoughts. I really enjoyed this film. I was very excited for this. The possibility of the multiverse, the concept and idea I like. Yes, the idea of the multiverse means that basically anything is possible, and death is definitely not final. I think it showed it off enough and didn't kind of get it too bogged down. It very much still centred on Doctor Strange and kind of seeing this kind of new exciting character in American Shazad. She was cool. Kind of this is the start of her journey. Kind of get an insight into her past. Kind of we see a bit of a glimpse. Kind of see kind of both her mothers kind of be swept away. Kind of and sort of we get a glimpse into her history, and kind of overall she was alright. Wanda, well, I've already said her, but I think this is her in this film. We kind of see this film and see Wanda kind of fully unleashed, and it was really kind of good to see kind of Wanda fully decked out, and after WandaVision, kind of her being able to fully embrace being like this kind of Scarlet Witch, being kind of this chaos magic that she is. It was kind of like she was like very powerful in this film had some very awesome, exciting scenes, but also some scary and some also like some like oh wow moments, some terror, some shocking things that was scary, and definitely I think some moments kind of pushed the MCU, and as I said before, they're kind of elevating. I was like, okay, this film is kind of growing and expanding the ever MCU, but it also has its own flavour. There's definitely, you could tell, the style being Sam Raimi, kind of the director, kind of the cinematography, the score, which was done by Danny Elfman. This film was cool, and this was definitely a comic book movie, and kind of that whole stand out with that kind of Illuminati sequence. And I was like, wow, well, this feels definitely like it would come up from the pages of a comic book. And yes, the story wasn't too compact with even kind of the multiverse angle. It wasn't too overstuffed, and yes, there was kind of all the kind of variants, and it kind of was still not focused. Like, the help of the multiverse is open, and it is here to stay. It is now part of the MCU. There were moments of quiet, characters look inside themselves, and I think also the idea of a villain for this kind of in Wanda, she was approached well. You could be like, oh yeah, she did terrible things, but you could also understand because because people have lost people. People know their feelings. They'll be like, okay, we would probably do anything. Would we murder countless people? Would we murder them? Probably not. She kind of looks in, kind of even at the end, at herself and being like truly like sees that actually she's tries to does it for her kids, but like those kids, the variant ones, are scared of her. She's like, she kind of realises what she's done, and kind of she was great even with all that she's done. The performances were great, from Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange and his variants to Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, and even Xochitl Gomez as American Chavez. And even just everyone did a great job carrying this film in all its madness, the multiverse strangeness. It was a fun one. And as I get to the end, I like Doctor Strange when all he does he's quite visually, like the magic side of the angle. Character-wise, I think he's alright, and even kind of the future is very much open for this character for more adventures. And kind of his kind of ever-growing character. And after some thinking, I think I like this film more than the original. It's still cool, but it kind of brings more weirdness, kind of the odd kind of crazy nature that happens in this film, and kind of, yes, maybe kind of, I don't know if there's too many issues, like overly thinking about it, don't think there's too many, I can't really think of it, maybe there's some passing, but overall I was pleased with this film. But there is a secret today I've been hiding. Actually not Glowfenix, but I am an evil variant of him, Mr. Evil Supreme Sorcerer Glowfenix Out. Oh, sorry about that. Just my own multiverse of madness, just peppering in this review. And now I can finally reveal that my own rating for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is 10 film emoji, which is Awesomtopia, which means I really enjoyed the film. It's not perfect, doesn't mean the film's perfect, but I really enjoyed the film, and it's really fun for me. Glowfenix out.